Hello, and back for some more bookshelf touring. We're still in the M's, and to break it to you, we're not going to be out of the M's today. But we'll finish this bookshelf. I'll start off with my Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami collection. I think I started off with the short stories, and then Norwegian Wood, and south of the border, west of the something or another. I can't remember the name of it. And I read those a while ago, and I really enjoyed them. They seem to be books that had you had to kind of dwell on them to try and unlock them. And I got very excited about what I thought I discovered in them. And they have a tone which I was in the mood for at the time, very kind of hushed, interior, very insular male tone, which is one of these things of coming to BookTube. I started hearing about other people's reactions to Murakami. There we go, Murakami, uh, and um, and especially that like all these kind of loner interior male characters who don't treat women very well, and the novels just in general seem to be along that way, and maybe have gotten worse over time with them. I kind of hit a block in that I didn't want to go back to them because I was afraid I'm probably I'm going to agree with the people who put forth those views and are probably a lot smarter and a lot more perceptive than I. Um, that said, I was when I was into it, I was like, oh, and I was at a point where I was like, I when I found an author, I was like, okay, I'll collect all the books, and then I'll just have them to savor. And I had slowly started doing that, but that kind of ground to a halt. So at the moment, I've got Underground, which is a library find. The Wind Up Bird Chronicles, which I think is supposed to be one of his big, big, big masterpieces. It's so big. Uh, After Dark, um, Hard Boiled Wonderland, The End of the World, and Kafka on the Shore. And I think that's all I have at the moment. I think I've got the IQ whatever thing, the gigantic thingy on ebook somewhere. Um, and at some point, yeah, I'll bite the bullet, find out where I left off with him, Murakami. I'll have to find off where I ended off with him and try another one and see if the J now still has that enthusiasm that the J earlier did. I guess we'll see. Unfortunately, I'm going to be looking for it now, which, well, maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it just is. And we'll go from there. Next, we have Walter Mosley. I think I talked about Walter Mosley with his Easy Rawlings series. I found some of his kind of more standalone books. What's this one? This is RL's Dream. We've got Walking the Dog, which I think is yes, Socrates Fortlow, who, as I think these are like short stories. The popular ex-con hero Walter Mosley's Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, which I have read, 9 years out of prison, still living the streets of Los Angeles, struggling to find the right path. True challenge, since the police make Socrates their first suspect in every local crime, and confronting, ultimately, the most dangerous emotion of all, hope. So yes, someone to think about, especially in these times, being June 2020, most definitely. And some more Socrates Fortlow. Apparently, I've got a couple of those to look forward to. The Right Mistake. So yeah, my Socrates. And then let's end off this bookshelf with Henry Miller. Here, I'm going to rest my hand for this one because, oh, Henry Miller. Henry Miller is someone I came to through Anais Nin. Anais Nin's journals I found in the my local Kelowna library, and I read her books, and there was this guy in them, Henry Miller. who she seemed to have an intense relationship with, though the journals were edited because she was married, and she was actually at some of the parts in there having a very intense love affair with Henry Miller. But I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, oh, wow, intense guy. And so I picked up one of his books, which was The Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer, which actually has a rather notorious reputation to it, because I published in 1933, Grove Press. It was challenged for obscenity under in the U.S., and I think he actually won that case. It was one of these cases that broke open the thing of, you know, sexuality dealt with for artistic intent is not obscene, is not pornographic. It's literature and can be published thus. I loved Henry Miller. Something about me as a young teenage guy really responded to all the kind of energy, the sexuality, the self-involvement, the very kind of heterosexual lust of the thing. And as a young guy of the '80s, I really had my ideas of women and feminism were not very well developed, so I was able to easily sail through Henry Miller, who these are he's probably what would be called autofiction today. These are basically his life in Paris as a bohemian, as a starving artist in Paris, after Hemingway and Fitzgerald, but still kind of a lost generation of writers, and you know, him and his women trouble, and just art and deep thoughts and all that stuff. I really ate all this up as as a young as a young teen guy. Tropic of Capricorn. I think those are the three I had at one point. Is it Nexus, Plexus, and Sexus, which was a lot about him and his wife June. Um, yeah, which I guess also got made into there's a movie called Henry and June with Uma Thurman as June, which was yeah, maybe I'd probably fallen out of love by from Henry Miller at that point. This is under the roofs of Paris. This was pornography. This was he got hooked up as a starving writer. Got hooked up with a client who wanted this you know, however many pages of pornography each day, and he wrote that, you know, make sure there's sex on every page, and it's suitably raunchy and probably very wrong. The Big Sur and the Oranges of Hieronymus Bosch. He was definitely someone who I think landed on the Californian coast, kind of down for me. I'm on the West Coast as well. Oh, and the Colossus of Malrusi, which is sort of his travel writing. It has a lot of I think of Lawrence Durrell in here as well, who was a friend of his. Did the Alexandria Quartet, probably a much better, actually it was actual novelist versus whatever Henry Miller is. I at some point I'll have to pick up the Henry Miller books again, and sort of like Murakami, I'm probably going to have to grit my teeth and see exactly how much I've slipped. There'll be a lot more slip here because I read Henry Miller very early 20s, where Murakami was definitely later. So yes, there is another bookshelf done. Oh boy, and maybe there's still more M's to go, miles and miles of M's to go.